uh, very aligned narrative of what is being built, which is what is Seafood Security Network, On the Sea Luxury Living, and Biomaterials Development Lab. Why Biomaterials Development Lab I feel is important to implement because of the kind of partners we have access to with that topic. It can be anywhere from longevity and biohacking to materials creation that would create better health alternatives, let's say. And my aim in my research was to focus on branding, content, visual and verbal communications, and external communications like media and socials of these organizations. And my offer generally to sea ranch farms and in general to aligned projects is to be communications and product advisor responsible for 6 to 9 months contract with focus on planning product line development, curating high quality digital content and creating content as well, and support us on emergence and fundraising process. So I can be like that person behind the scenes doing a little deeper dive research, understanding how to present our messages to each individual investment firm so that I can study what they're focusing on and we can adapt our communications to the language that I understand. So the idea is to bring key partners together and aligned industry players together for like conversations, forums, networking, as I mentioned to you before, open discussions, and podcast recordings, so that we have the wealth of material, data that is very priceless, that we can spread around before the product exists. The enjoyment of producing products early on is really key here for me, and understanding that we're bringing together the brand reputation early on. Before the product is built, we are building the network around us to support us in our further developments. So we can have early conversations with suppliers and laboratories and existing eco resorts, for example, to provide the hand of sea ranching that a lot of them are actually missing. And now the focus will be strategic relationship building and make sure that the brand that we're building is well recognized at the earliest stage of its development. It's kind of going similarly to how the startup world in the US has been developing. They were selling ideas, but instead of selling an idea, we're actually selling what we're working on, like the process. Our product is the process. So the focus that I'd like to see more on life and regeneration. So I started my research deeply looking at the regenerative aquaculture and the communications around that, as opposed to sustainability and SDGs and all of that. So what is regeneration? I studied through the first category of that research. Then I went until searching for legal options that make sense in terms of the new ways of developing governance and coordination. And I was still looking at DAOs from a very skeptical perspective, because as you know, I'm pro and con, and I'm still weighting all these different aspects of it. And I found one DAO organization that creates legal DAOs in a Micronesia country, one of the countries in Micronesia. And you can click the link and see the country. So it's very
Marshall
new.
Islands, yes.
Okay, Okay, great. So I was looking into that. I will speak with more people who are involved in that to have a little bit better understanding of how this is done, but I'm curious to double click on that later. Now, later I looked at aligned seafood brands and general seafood industry and how branding is done around it, how fish products are presented. I didn't find anything of a particular interest, but the brands that I mentioned under that category in the document are some of the key partners we need to look at to collaborate with, potentially with knowledge sharing. And yeah, let's see. Then I was looking at, of course, the seaweed materials a lot. And you know that research I'd done for alternative materials before in our work together. So now I just curate a deeper list of packaging materials, dyes, examples of more of like monopolization process that is happening currently in this world. There are just a couple of companies that are now like certified, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to see what are the other chances, opportunities to decentralize this space. Now, I also looked at AI-generated responses on what are the biomaterials spaces, and there are a lot of kind of more of let's say biohacking is a great way to look into this, and it's not been looked at it enough. And I feel like we can find a lot of researchers that can help us understand the qualities that seaweed-based materials can bring into our life. I also looked at Free Cities Foundation and their seasteading. I looked at Atlantic Sea Farms, that is like one of the leading sea farm kind of, our competitor, let's say. I looked at other, say, channels of these kind of organizations sharing data, like on Quora, right? And I'm sure Reddit. So again, looking at where these kind of people converge is important to me, and understanding what kind of platform we can build for these people to come to our home as well. I looked at the lists of different hospitality options. I wasn't really impressed by their way of communicating regeneration and sea conversation. So there's definitely opportunity in the hospitality sector. I also looked at creators that create materials that are beautiful and fashion pieces, as you know, out of these materials that we can onboard in the very beginning and ask for their feedback on this industry. And of course, just looking at resources that could be our great publishing partners when we have a story to share. Looked at aligned design studios that are working on architecture that are sea-based architecture constructions. And that would be also a good idea to look at their quotes and understand how much pricing we need to embed in our planning for designing structures. I looked at the energy lens just a little bit of how the energy can be produced with the work that we're doing and distributed. So this is something I want to focus on my research further into this September, is the energy lens. The tourism lens, as in like, okay, you have these eco resorts, you have more of like a backpacker, types. So I wanted to cover all these different type of audiences that we can invite as influencers at early stages of this development. I looked at fishing lens as well. What are the fishing companies that are selling wholesale? These kind of brands, they really lack that open source, decentralized type of communications that we do in the decentralized world, like conferences and open forums. These kind of work is still very much under the closed doors, and I'd like to help open some doors for us with our partnership strategy. And then I included a collection of images, and I'm going to just go through a little bit of my concerns. I'm not sure how far deep into the ocean or the sea range farms will be positioned. It's something I need to study in terms of where the product that we're interested actually is growing. So this is also going to be my next step in research and understanding together with you guys. And then I was looking at all these hotels that are near the seas or on the seas, boat hotels, stuff like that, just to understand the current market opportunities that we can tap into in terms of existing locations and organizations. Generally looked at or kind of communications, visual communications of the let's say the seasteading types and everyone who is working on the sea, not just living there for pleasure. And looked at, of course, more of like inland opportunities, how we can combine regenerative farms on the land with the sea range farms, so that we can have these partners. Also will be further down the road researching, aligned regenerative farms around the world that are by the sea. I was looking at the product opportunities, so creating our first marketing materials and real world assets, and looking at designers that could create beautiful maps and architectural visualizations of what we're building. Again, trying my best to avoid AI in my research for the matter of we have enough on this earth to showcase that it's been created so far, and these images are very important for us to reference what's possible already in physical reality. I was looking more into the fashion and materials applications in my presentation, looking at how the seaweed has actually not been looked at deeply enough from perspective of how it can be a beautiful product as well. I was looking also at regenerative ways of farming and all these graphs and models of how seaweed can be collected. Okay, so that's pretty much it. No, yes, of course, the food and researching all these like recipes with seaweed-based materials and with, of course, the fish. But again, like that balance of presenting killing life and or rather collecting life. I don't know, like it's a language we still need to understand what to say, not to say that we're that's something that regenerative communications is still work in progress for us, let's say. It's like a sensitive topic, you know. That's why maybe I got emotional, is because I had to figure out if it's value alignment truly for me personally to be associated with this project. So that's pretty much it, I think. I mean, we're gonna go on till the end. The food community is an important part of it.
Hi, sorry for that. I fell out for a bit.
All good.
Do you want me to switch to video or?
Well, we can now have your part of this, like you, if you can reflect on what I just shared with you, knowing that that link exists. So I just scrolled through that as I was speaking through it.
Okay. You've gone into it very thoroughly. It's very detailed. There's a lot of. Have you been a chief marketing officer before?